Thank you, Madam Chair, witnesses and colleagues. I appreciate the opportunity to examine a critical industry that helps protect the freedom of American citizens every day. Ms. Okafor, I just wanted to say it's great to see you again. Denton County strong. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
It seems strange to me that this committee has decided to bring in some of the largest firearm manufacturers in the country, but not the Attorney General, who is actually in charge of enforcing our gun laws and who conducts oversight on the ATF, the FBI, and other pertinent agencies, or why this committee hasn't brought in city and state attorneys who are refusing to uphold the law in a lot of these democratic areas. And why on earth aren't we discussing the scourge of violent crime in those same democratically controlled areas? Fact of the matter is that more gun laws and restrictive gun laws do not lessen crime. And I have to restate the last thing I said in our previous Second Amendment infringement hearing, that if you look at countries, for instance, like El Salvador, Jamaica, Venezuela, Honduras, that have some of the most restrictive gun laws in the world, they're also the most dangerous countries in the world with the highest homicide and violent crime rates. But let's not, it shouldn't escape our notice that democratically controlled cities in our country with the most restrictive gun laws in our nation have actually higher murder rates than those aforementioned countries. St. Louis has a higher murder rate than El Salvador, and so does Baltimore. And it's actually safer to visit and live in Venezuela than it is to live and visit Detroit, Michigan. 50 years ago, there were 180 million guns in this country, and the murder rate was 9.6 per 100,000. And just before COVID, there were almost 400 million guns in this country, and the murder rate was 6 per 100,000. Again, more gun laws doesn't equal less crime. Mr. Busey, I got a quick question for you. You're a gun owner, and you were a firearms executive for decades, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you own, let's say, 5 guns, personally?
Yes, I own 5.
Do you own more than 10?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so fair to say that you know a lot about different types of guns.
I know some about some types of guns.
All right, civilian AR-15, is that a fully automatic weapon?
No, sir.
Okay. And then there are several states that have so-called assault weapons bans, is that correct?
There are some, yes, sir.
And are they uniform? Are they exactly the same, or are they different, each state?
I'm not an expert on each state law, don't know.
So you don't know if they're exactly the same cookie cutter?
I don't.
Okay. They're not, and I think it's because maybe, just maybe, we can't even seem to define what an assault weapon is, and that is a vague term and left up for interpretation. And Mr. Busey, you also are on record, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, that you're calling guns weapons of war. I just heard one of my colleagues say it as well. I'm not sure your question there, sir. All right. Have you called firearms weapons of war?
I have not called all firearms weapons of war, no.
You have called some weapons of war?
Yes, some firearms are weapons of war, yes, sir.
So when you were a firearms executive, did you market the Browning 1911?
I marketed and sold 1911-style pistols, yes, sir.
So 1911s were the firearm of the United States military from World War I to Vietnam, about over 50 years?
They were the defensive handgun of choice for most military operations,
They
yes,
were a weapon of war. See, what I find offensive by that term is, and my colleague just said it as well, is I own an AR-15, and it's not a weapon of war, and I don't want to hurt anybody. It is a defensive weapon. It is a tool to allow me to protect my property, but far more importantly, my family, my children, and my wife. And I'm glad I'm not giving it up, no matter what. And some of these laws that we're talking about, whether they're grandfathered or not, are going to make good law-abiding citizens criminals. And by definition, criminals don't follow the laws anyway. That's why I own one. So we have a bill, and from our colleague from Rhode Island, Mr. Cicilline. It's H.R. 1808. It's an assault weapons ban, which it makes it a crime to import, sell, manufacture, or possess semi-automatic weapons. To put plainly, this is an outright ban on all semi-automatic weapons. And this bill is political theater, and it's a complete farce. The American people don't support it. I'm sure there's many Democrats across the country and rank and file that don't support it. And it's an actual joke, and it's a disservice to our Constitution. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I yield back.